owning projection equipment, owning it, is not always the core business of our customers. Using this projection equipment to give a magical experience to their audience, to make sure that they have a great time and come back, that is their core business, right?
Welcome to a new episode of the Product as a Service Champions podcast, aiming to eliminate the sense of being alone when navigating the wild product as a service landscape. I'm your host, Yann Toutant, and today we have the pleasure of welcoming Bas van Heek, who's Business Strategy Director at Barco. And Bas will take us today into the captivating world of cinema as a service. Thank you, Bas, for joining us today. Could you start simply by introducing yourself to our listeners?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Jan, and thanks for having me. I'm a big believer and passionate about everything as a service. So
good. That's the right platform.
Exactly, and we try to implement that in the cinema industry. Yeah. So now I'm Bas van Heek, as you said, and thank you for the introduction. I'm with Barco, a company specialized in visualization technology in medical, corporate, and entertainment markets. And cinema is one of the big business units within the entertainment section of Barco. Barco is a Belgian company, about 3,500 people, roughly 1 billion turnover, and we are active globally in all our businesses. So I'm with the company for 20 years in various roles, and the last 5 years I'm focusing on cinema, and I'm in the strategic marketing department.
Right. So cinema as a service. Here we are. In the previous podcast, we talked about as a service models for appliances and cooling, for example. Today we are going to explore a complete different model with you, Bas, today, which is cinema equipment, and more specifically the projectors, which is a solution provided by Barco as a manufacturer of those products. Super curious to hear from you a description of what is cinema as a service.
Well, as it says, it is cinema as a service, as opposite to cinema as a product. And in Barco terms, that usually starts with a projector. So we've been selling cinema projectors for 20 years in a CapEx model with various finance variations. But what we have seen over the past years, and it's also a little bit linked to technology and renewal waves, is that the market has changed. Digitalization started in 2008, 2010 with a huge wave of new technology coming into the cinemas. There was a lot of value involved there. And because of that, a lot of studios and distributors helped cinemas to get over that barrier of technology, innovation, and transition by financing a lot of that. Today, a lot of that equipment that went in like 10 to 15 years ago gets to its end of its lifetime. And nobody is supporting the industry anymore to do this technology renewal. So there's a lot of money and value required to replace all those machines. And in order to help our customers in various ways, by the way, but this is one way to overcome that barrier, we offer an as a service offering. The second important thing is COVID, whether we like it or not. Because of COVID, the industry lost a lot of specialists and knowledge. So
yeah, of course,
owning equipment is important. It's important for a customer, but it becomes difficult. It becomes a little bit of a burden, of a hassle, because it comes with responsibility and risks of owning equipment. And that knowledge and the labor and the workforce and also the willingness to be responsible for that is not always there. And I say not always because some customers are excellent in doing that. But there are others that are struggling a little bit more with that. And for those customers, we would like to offer an alternative because we still do a lot of direct business in CapEx way. But we offer them an alternative in order to facilitate this transition in technology, so that everybody can benefit of it. And not in the last, of course, the moviegoer, because it does impact the experience of the moviegoer, of how they experience the movies.
It's fascinating to hear from you the different drivers that have led to implement cinema as a service. What has been the decision internally? What has been the driver, the sparkle within Barco that said, we need to offer that, we need to go with this solution to other customers?
Well, it is, of course, business driven, but what we saw is what we brought to market a new technology, a new innovation into projection technology, which is called laser. And laser with enormous benefits. And benefits to the customer in operational excellence, benefits for moviegoers because the image quality is better, but also benefits for the environment because we can save a lot of power and lamp disposals and so on. And with saving a lot of power, we go back to the operational excellence, you save a lot of cost. But what we saw and what we noticed, and especially with regards to COVID and so, is that there is a reluctance to invest in new technology because there's not enough money in the world. People have priorities, and their priority is not always technological renewal. Even they know they can save up to 70% on their operational costs between operating a laser projector versus a lamp projector, they are still very happy with what they have today, and they stretch the usage to the max, which is good because that is good equipment.
Exactly.
It just comes at a high cost, and you postpone the risk. What's the English word again? Procrastinate.
I always difficulties to mention it. I will try. Procrastinate.
Exactly. You procrastinate.
Yes.
The moment that will come where all of a sudden you do not have the choice anymore, because there will be a moment in time that the equipment will just fail. It might not be now, but in order to help our customers and to support this transition, we come up with this model, because when we bring this to market, we can offer a hybrid solution of business continuation, offering the customers the choice. Either you stay with your current equipment, you upgrade some what you have, or you renew. And helping them to go over this barrier of investment. This model works very well for a particular segment of customers. Not everybody, but for a particular segment. And it drives the laser conversion, because today only about 20% of the market is converted to laser. So there's a huge opportunity from a business point of view, absolutely, but also from a operational excellence, cost saving, sustainability point of view, to convert the whole industry to laser projection.
I think it's very interesting the fact that it's obvious that the new technology based on laser brings value, but still there are some resistance to make the change, to move to the new technology. And those resistance could be financial resistance, to have the capacity to invest into this new technology. In discussions we have had, Bas, you also mentioned to me that the fact that the cinema core business is very important, of course, to focus on and to spend all the dollars available into the core business of the cinema, which is projecting movie and having a great experience, and not into the technology and managing this technology. So you also, I would say, in a way, you help cinemas to focus on our core business with cinema as a service.
Yes, that is true. As I said before, owning projection equipment, owning it is not always the core business of our customers. Using this projection equipment to give a magical experience to their audience, to make sure that they have a great time and come back, that is their core business, right? So if we can help them by unburden some of those responsibilities and say, look, we know these are difficult times, and I'm not saying that to be dramatic, but we are still recovering from COVID, especially in the movie industry, and I think that counts for the whole entertainment industry. There are trends in the market, like the actors' strike last year, that have an impact on the
Hollywood,
movie, and that's also the reasons why the box office numbers this year are very much under pressure. So movie exhibitors have a lot of worries, I would say, and one of them is getting people back into the cinemas. Right? Unburdening them by taking away the worries about technology and equipment is a way to help them to say, look, we make sure that we have great movies. We make sure that we get these enthusiastic movie lovers into our venues, into our seats. And Barco will take care that the projection and the replay of the content is fantastic. And that is also our business model, because when we talk about cinema as a service, we do not focus at all on the projector or on the hardware. We really focus about the quality of the projection, about what the customer sees, the final result on screen. So our performance indicators that we use to price and value our offering is performance on screen, not having a projector at your premises for a month or two. No, it's about foot lambert on screen. Foot lambert is a measurement for brightness. Brightness is a key parameter of quality, besides others, of course, but this is a key parameter, quality on screen. In cinema, it's very normal and also a bit prescribed by the studios that you should display a movie at about 14 foot lambert, which is a measurement of
learning something.
I know, but if you play a movie at 5 foot lambert or at 4 foot lambert or 3 foot lambert even, it doesn't mean that you don't see the movie. You can compare it with go to a meeting room where there's a projector and the curtains are open. The movie is still there, but it's completely fleshed out or washed out, so you don't see any contrast anymore. So the 14 foot lambert is a bit of a sweet spot, and it's also where movie creators, studios, and creatives are aiming for when they master their content. So we are going to ensure that we deliver a promise of a qualitative movie representation for a fee per month, instead of saying van, this is the new Barco box.
We often mention, when it's all about as a service, the fact that it's not about specs anymore. It's about the outcome. It's about what the solution is here to do. And in your case, to have a movie at 14, can you repeat the unit?
It's
the measurement unit.
It's a measurement of brightness. Yes. Reflected brightness on a screen, which is of course a projector and a screen. You project the light or the image on the screen, and it reflects to the audience.
So that's outcome based. The outcome is this quality of a movie being provided to the viewers. So you're not selling specs anymore. Nevertheless, I discussed with you that you still have some very simple metrics to choose, criteria like the size of the screen, 3D versus 2D. I think you've been able to narrow down to make it very simple, to make the choice of the right solution into as a service, to make the right solution according to very simple parameters. Could you explain?
Yes, that's correct. So we used to sell projectors on specs, like when you go over a car, how fast does it go, how much fuel does it consume, and so on. We believe that in cinema as a service, where you promise a certain outcome, that's irrelevant. But still, you need a couple of specifications that are important to the customer. And that's what we call service level objectives. If we call the cinema as a service level agreement, which it actually is, then it's defined by service level objectives. And the objectives of a customer can be something like, not van, I would like to have a Barco XYZ projector, but it would be like, no, I need a 2K projection on a medium-sized screen and I would like to have 3D capabilities.
Mhm.
And I would like 3D capabilities in 8-foot Lambert or 6-foot Lambert.
Mhm.
Another customer, or maybe screen number 2, is like, no, in screen number 2, we have a very large screen, an XL screen. And there I do need 4K projection, but there I only need 2K. So there are a couple of parameters, of course, that define say the value of the offering and the value drivers of the offering. And the value is what it brings to the customer, what our customer is the exhibitor, what the exhibitor believes is important to deliver to their moviegoer. So those value drivers we try to catch into service level objectives, and there we guarantee a certain performance over the duration of the contract. And we try to make it very simple by, okay, we go from extra small, small, medium, large, extra large theater, 2K versus 4K, 2D versus 3D, things like that. 14-foot Lambert, 16-foot Lambert, I want 22-foot Lambert. It's perfectly possible. If the customer chooses 22-foot Lambert, of course we put in a bigger projector, but not necessarily. We can also choose to put in a smaller projector, but replace it more often. That's our responsibility, and that's a very important parameter in a as a service model, I believe.
Indeed, and that brings me directly to a next question for you, Bas, about this responsibility that you just mentioned. I love what you said. You are responsible of the outcome, and the product that is here to deliver this outcome is your responsibility and not the one of the customer. And that brings me to the topic of measuring consumption and data interactions with your product and your customers. So like in every as a service solution nowadays, the products are connected and are reporting data. Question on that: how do you collect, use, and then leverage data coming from your projectors and increase the customer experience thanks to that?
Yes, I think for every as a service, that is one of the biggest challenges you face. At Barco, we have numerous locations all over the world, but that's limited a little bit to the areas where we are offering this kind of offering. So Western Europe, we have a location in Kortrijk, and then we have locations in North America, Sacramento, Atlanta, we are in Mexico. But we are talking hundreds, maybe thousands of screens, right? There's no way that we know from Kortrijk or Mexico City or Sacramento or Dallas. There's no way that we know what's going on with all those screens. But we do take responsibility over the performance. So the only way to do that is by knowing almost in real time what's going on with the system, because it's a combination of multiple hardware, products, and services, and it's our responsibility to know the status of the system at any moment in time. So for that, we work with a cloud, whatever is in the name, a central location where we collect data from the sites through an edge gateway. So it's a very secure and smart way of, on one hand, data gathering, but also on data transmission. And we bring that back to the Barco cloud, wherever that may be, and we use that data to analyze. So first of all, I think we can distinguish like 3 ways of what we do. So first of all, we use sensor data. Every projector has more as 250 data points, I believe. And we combine that with external sensor data. What happens in the environment of the cinema booth? That's the small room in the back of the cinema where the projector is located. If you look back, you know what is it? That's where you.
It's where we used to see someone doing that in the past.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Long ago.
The old days.
But
also sensors in the theater where we measure in nearly real time the status and the performance of the projector, the status of the environment, temperature, airflow, dust, things in the environment where the equipment is operating, and at the same time combine that with measurements of what is actually happening on the screen. And when you combine that together and you add some smart Nowadays we call it AI or machine learning, but if you add some smart algorithms to that, you know pretty secure, or you know pretty precisely what's happening with your equipment in the booth, and what is the performance that it delivers, and does it still match your performance that you promised. What we also use the data for is to predict what is the performance tomorrow and the day after. Because one of the core things, I believe, to make an as a service offering to a success is, of course, the availability of the service to the customer. In this case, a movie exhibitor, he expects the service to be available to him at any moment in time. So it's of critical importance to a service provider to know not only what the status of the product or the service is today, what you deliver, but also what it is tomorrow and the day after. But also, when am I not able to deliver to my commitment anymore? And if you use data, you can do that because you have thousands of devices in the field, and not only as a service models, but also in CapEx models. We have delivered over 100,000 projectors over the years. Not all of them are connected, I have to admit, but a lot of them are connected. So we have a lot of data, and we know by experience that if A and B happens, then you can be very sure that within 4 weeks, C happens. So we use this knowledge to improve our products and services, of course, but we also use this to do predictive and prescriptive maintenance and service. And that's something else as preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance is like your fan runs for 30,000 hours. When you're 28, you're going to replace it. But predictive and prescriptive maintenance means like I'm going to monitor the fan's performance, and based on multiple parameters, I'm going to determine very exactly when I have to replace that part, or when I have to service the machine, instead of every 30,000 hours. For filters, the same. I mean, even though we don't change filters anymore, we just clean them. But it's still important to know that you are not relying on a manual that says every 3 months, but you measure it and you say you only clean them when it's necessary, and you predict when that's going to happen. Because if it's necessary at the moment that it's necessary, you're too late. Because you have to optimize the cost of delivery.
And then you have if you're too late, you have a disruption of your service, and then you have the issue that you are mentioning, that a movie can't be projected.
In worst case, you have an interruption of the service. Yes, indeed.
Okay, and that of course this capacity to monitor the life of your product and to keep them in their best operational conditions brings me to a very important topic when it's about as a service, which is sustainability, and the fact that customers today want to have sustainable solution being provided to them. So you mentioned already that thanks to the new technology, you can reduce the consumption of energy, which is a huge impact on sustainability. But in general, about the life of your products and the I would say the duration of usage when it's as a service, how does it impact sustainability?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, sustainability is important to everybody nowadays, and that translates into the importance for moviegoers. Moviegoers, the current generation, they make decisions on where they spend the money based on sustainability. So that makes sustainability important for our exhibitors, cinemas. Next to that, there's regulations. You also have to comply with certain regulations, and because we offer this as a service, we believe that we can help our customers in order to achieve their goals. And it all starts already by product design. And I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit out of scope here because you talk about power consumption mostly, but I believe that sustainability starts at product design. You design a product for a certain business model, and the business model contains a responsible way towards the planet, sustainability. And within Barco, we incorporated this in our MPI process, with the new product introduction process, that at every step we take sustainability into mind. One of the key parameters is absolutely the reduction of power consumption during the lifetime of the product.
Yeah.
But that's only one of the 4 key things.
Okay.
We also look to material usage. And that's not only about hazardous materials or scarce materials, but it's also about how much of the material, raw material that we use, is recycled, and how much of the material that we use can be recycled afterwards. That's the product itself. It also is about packaging. Another one is about logistics. How do you work around logistics? And the last one is lifetime, life cycle management, or life cycle optimization. And their power, again, is a big one. Innovation as well. And the products that we use today are very suitable for as a service, because earlier generation products had consumables that had to be replaced regularly. Think of lamps and filters. A lamp in cinema, depending on the size, because the wattage, the power of the lamp determines how often you have to replace it, but between 1 and, let's say, 4 to 5 times a year you have to replace the lamp. That's not only expensive, but it is also bad for nature, because in the lamp there are gases and so on. You have to dispose them, you have to transport them, you have to warehouse them. So there's a whole industry around lamps. It's the same in your house, but it's not the same. So the current generation of products that use solid state laser elimination, they run for $40,000-$50,000. That's one.
Okay.
They are 70% more energy efficient compared to previous generations. We designed out all the consumables, which means that from a sustainability point of view, we don't have to service them anymore every year. We don't have to go on site. Most of the service uses happens remotely now. And then the last thing is, of course, the monitoring component. And the monitoring is not only to make sure that the performance can be guaranteed at any moment in time, and that the service is available to the exhibitor at every moment in time, but it also optimizes the service. So we have control over the equipment by switching it. Very simple, switching it on and off when necessary. If there is 20 minutes between a show, switch it off. If you leave that to the local theater manager, it's not always thought about.
Of course,
Optimizing the light output in function of temperature, for example, can stretch the lifetime of the product and the efficiency of the product. So those things are monitored and constantly evaluated, and if necessary, adjusted. And as a service model helps us to take responsibility, that's one, to provide consistency over the install base. Every projector that is in our pool, it's managed and controlled in exactly the same way. And therefore, you have a full control over the lifetime of a whole range of products. And I think that's a big contribution towards achieving our own sustainability goals.
Of course.
But also that of our customers.
Yeah. I was interrupted you, sorry, before you finish, but for me, it's a dream situation to be able to control the life cycle of your product. And everything you said, Bas, I fully relate to that about, I would say, the supply chain and the ambition to have a carbon neutral supply chain about product design, raw materials, packaging, logistics. But where as a service takes it further is that once the product has arrived at the final destination, I would say, you continue to monitor the product in order to make sure that the usage is optimum, and then you extend the life cycle of this product, which is for me a discussion I have very often with manufacturers about their carbon neutral supply chain. Great, but then what happens when the product is being delivered at the user? The carbon neutrality of the supply chain is not applying.
Correct. And I just I don't mean to correct you, but just to set the record straight,
please.
I don't think we are, as Barco within cinema, that we can yet claim a carbon neutral supply chain. So I don't want to claim things here that are not that. It's definitely a goal. Absolutely. We are working towards that. But carbon neutral supply chain, we're not there yet. But we do everything we can to make steps, but also controlled steps, documented, smart steps with targets for ourselves that are also public and registered at at the appropriate associations, where we can prove the steps that we take in order to get carbon neutral in the supply chain, and eventually, hopefully, we get to a stage that we are carbon neutral over the entire lifetime of the product. That's definitely a goal. We don't know yet if we can achieve that. I have to be honest. The current state of technology does not allow us to say with 100% confidence that we will get there. But we are confident that we are making steps in the right direction to get at least very close to that point. There are other products, by the way, in the Barco portfolio that are carbon neutral already. So we use that knowledge, of course, within the company.
It's fascinating, Bas, and of course we could stay hours continuing talking about your cinema as a service, but I think we have touched quite some topics about already the performance that you deliver, the outcome-based model to make sure that the cinema provides the best experience to the viewers. Before we conclude, I usually love to ask a question to my guest, a bit funny question, but if you could send a message to your past self when you first launched your first product as a service, you meet yourself 5 years ago, what would you tell yourself?
Don't skip the gym. No, I would, one of the biggest mistakes I believe companies make, and I think we make that as well. I wouldn't call it a mistake, by the way, because it's natural that you go that way, is to go for a perfect solution on day one. So my recommendation is just do it. Dare to fail, although you won't fail because you learn. If you believe that you come up with a strategy that is good for the company and for your customers, that involves an as a service business, and you say, okay, great, we're going to implement this and we're going to launch it in 6 months from now, and it has to be perfect, forget it. It will take you months, maybe years, to get to a stage which at the beginning of time you thought it was perfect, and over the course it will change 3 or 4 times. But I think the most important thing is do it. Start with something. Be ambitious, set goals, learn, measure, and bring it forward. That's also what we did. I mean, at a certain moment, we started with a certain customer, and it was, in all fairness, way more a finance project through as a service. But it's okay. You have to take steps to get to somewhere that you want to be. So don't be afraid, and don't fall in the pitfall of wanting it to do it right at the first day. That would be my message to myself. Just do
it. Perfect is the enemy of good,
maybe,
as we say.
That I really would like to say is that at the core of a as a service offering, in my belief, and I think that's the belief of Barco as a whole, it's a partnership, it's companionship. You do not do that as a supplier. You do it as a partner, because you partner up with your customer, whatever service you offer. But you take a lot of responsibility away from your customer, but you bring it to yourself. So you cannot consider yourself a supplier anymore. You are in it. So you are a companion, you are a partner of it. And I think that's a very important thing to understand. Your position compared to your customer completely changes. Completely.
Yeah. That's the best conclusion you could have reached, Bas. It's about becoming entering into a partnership and really staying connected to your customer during the whole journey, during the whole usage of the solution,
Yes.
and not just at the moment of selling it.
Correct.
Fully agree.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Bas, for sharing your experience with us today. A pleasure to have you on the Product as a Service Champion podcast.
Thank you.
As I said, our discussions are always very interesting. So once more, now we have it recorded, so that's even better. Thank
Yes.
you very much, Bas.
Happy to be here. Always fun. Always great to talk with you, Yann.